Hey guys, how you doing? Evylyn here and welcome to another video. So guys, 5.3 is just right around the corner and I actually wanted to talk about it a little bit to give you guys my input on what we should do in 5.3 as warriors. While I'm talking guys, I'm just going to be doing a BG in the background. Hopefully you guys enjoy watching that while I'm talking, and let's get into it. Right, first up I'm going to talk about the specific gear changes and things that are going to affect warriors in a whole altogether. Base resilience has been reset to 65%, so that means every person in the game is going to have 65% resilience. This means in BGs, especially normal BGs, you're going to have problems killing people a little bit harder because of the fact that not everyone is going to have like 60% or 58% resilience. But that's not a problem, it just means you're going to have to work a bit harder for your money. Resilience has been removed from nearly all PvP gear. I wouldn't worry too much about that, you can still stack up to 68% if you need to. Players will still be able to use resilience gems and enchants. PvPR will remain the same and exclusively on PvP gear. Now a lot of people are thinking maybe you should just start switching to PvE. That's not the truth. The thing is, you're going to have almost near as much the same amount of strength as you would on your PvP gear as you do on PvE gear. Plus you're going to have the extra PvP power, and while it may not be extra compared to what you already have, it'll still be enough to make more damage than actual having strength. Not to mention the fact that if we go full strength and PvE gear, second wind, especially combined with battle fatigue, will just wipe you out in arenas really quickly. So I don't recommend going for any PvE gear at all. Now PvP set bonuses that currently provide resilience will now provide PvP power. That's a good thing. Healers and hybrid classes benefit from PvP power, and battle fatigue will increase PvP power superior for healers. So this means that basically if you PvE gear and you've gem full strength, you're probably going to die in a few seconds. Conquest gear will be increased to item level 496 before 493, and basically there will be an item level cap of 496 in arena and RBGs. Now this means basically people can't overgear and basically be better than you. It's all going to be about actual tactics and actual strategy and showing who's the better player rather than the actual better gear. And I think this is actually a really good change, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. They're going to be removing the conquest cap point for weapons. This is good for new players and I hope that people enjoy that. They're also changing the fact that elite gear will now be purchasable after 27,000 conquest points, and there's no actual benefit to being elite geared anymore because of unless you're in duels, of course. Duels might be good, but otherwise not really. That's it for the changes for the game. They're introducing a conquest point catch up, which will be pretty good, especially for people who are only coming in late mid game. So people should watch out for this and it should be pretty good. The battle fatigue is actually going to be put up to 45% now. This means that any warrior expected for a second wind is going to have a hard time. We may need to find ourselves switching to enrage regeneration, especially since it doesn't cost any rage anymore. But obviously people are going to use some sort of berserker rage and then use it. But I think second wind still might be okay combined with shield wall and everything like that. Basically PvP power is going to be switched to 400 for every 1% instead of 265. So it doesn't mean that PvP power is not a good thing, it just means that you shouldn't be aiming for it, but you should not be aiming for PvE gear. Healers should still be benefiting from 100% of PvP power, so they shouldn't worry too much about that. Every semi class which gonna heal is gonna benefit from 70%, and then any other class is gonna benefit 40%, which probably means warriors in the long run. There's also going to be a new arena and a new BG, which is going to be good for RBGs as well, obviously. Now the thing is, the new BG it looks pretty slick, pretty cool. Okay, there's going to be a lot of team involved, and I feel it's going to be a lot of jumping around, switching groups, like maybe 2 or 3 groups, and this is going to show actually who can do what and how team organization is going to work so well. Though it's definitely going to be interesting to see if this is actually going to be a 15 versus 15 RBG, which I very much doubt. So it's going to be really interesting to see what 10 people is going to split into 3 set teams. Maybe a healer with each team. pretty decent like that. As for the new arena is actually pretty nice. It's difficult for warriors to get around the pillars, but it should be still okay. But the good thing is warriors can use that place for line of sight, etc. to keep ourselves alive. So we'll see how it goes, but I think that arena should be a little bit tricky, but still fun, very much so. Okay, so next up I'm going to talk about the specific changes to other classes that will affect warriors in the general whole, and then I'll talk about warriors and the actual talents that have been changed for us. So first up, the one main thing that's going to affect us as a warrior is the necrotic strikes have been changed from 200 to 225 on DKs, which means that second wind is going to be even worse than it has before. It just means that you need to watch what the DK is doing and make sure he's not stacking too high on you, and you should be okay. The thing with druids, we don't have to worry too much about anything as regards to boomkins or restos or anything like that. The only thing you have to worry too much about druids at the moment will be ferals. Savage Roar has increased their damage by an extra 10% more, so this will be really nasty, so watch out for that. Hunters don't really have too much of a change. They've been nerfed a little bit, but don't worry too much about that. The main thing you have to worry about on Hunter is they actually changed the aspect of the Hawk to do 25% attack power instead of 15% range attack power, so this means Hunters are going to be slightly bit more damage, so watch out for that. Mages actually have been nerfed quite a lot, so this is really a good change for us. But the main thing that we should be looking at is the fact that they've nerfed Incanter's Ward from 30% down to 15%. This means that mages are no longer going to be able to global you in 1 second, which is pretty good. The main thing we have to watch out for monks next will be Windwalker monks, and when they're using Rising Sun Kick. It now increases physical damage done by an extra 20%, so watch out for that. The next one on Paladins, this is the main one for Paladins. Paladins are actually getting a pretty nice buff this patch. They're now being damaged is being increased by an extra 15% because their talent Retribution is Sword of the Light now increases damage by 30% when using two-handed weapons instead of 15%. This is the main one we have to watch out for. Everything else is still okay, but just watch out because basically this means that just watch out because Rectory Paladins are going to be hitting pretty hard now, so the sustained damage should be a lot better than what it was last patch. Priests, Void Shift has now been changed to a 5-minute CD, up from 6 minutes for Disc Priests, and Shadow Priests now have their CD increased to 10 minutes, up from 6. And the spell is no longer usable in arenas and RBGs. This is really good, especially for arenas, because most of the time when the warriors target and attack and they're about to kill the person, they always get Void Shift, and straight away the priest will disperse and heal himself up, or the person will basically swap between the healer and themselves while the healer's low. Next up we have rogues. Rogues have actually been hit quite hard this patch. The most one that's been hit is Fire Weakness. They now only do 50% armor on all targets against other players, and it was 70%, so they shouldn't be doing as hard damage as they were. Damage will still be okay, but not as much as it was before. And also they're reducing Cloak and Dagger, so it doesn't work when you're out of stealth. This basically means that anyone using Shadow Dance is probably going to want to spec for Shadow Step, because I play a rogue too. I know the talents. Anyways, next up, the Enhancement Shamans are the only ones we should be worried about next patch, because Elemental Shamans are having their cooldown on Lava Burst increased to 2 seconds from 1.5, and now does 25% more damage, but this gives us a bigger window of opportunity to actually interrupt it. So just need to stay on the target and you should be okay. Okay, so with enhancements, they've had quite a lot of changes, and this is going to be really nasty for warriors. Enhancement, the Spirit Wolves now are immune to root and snare effects, which basically means that if you try to root them or anything, you won't work. You're going to have to shockwave and stun them or fear them, which is still pretty decent, and that's okay. Lava Lash has had its damage increased by an extra 50%. Well, let's say about 25%, but anyways, it's up to 300% now, up from 250. So that means Lava Lash is going to hit a bit more. The Melting Quicklist now converts 65% of the Shaman's attack power to spell power, so it's got a damage increase for them as well. And Storm Strike now does 40 to 50% weapon damage, up from 375. That's the main one we have to watch out for. Remember, Enhancement Shamans are probably going to be the biggest threat for Warriors this season, so watch out for that. Next up, Warlocks. There isn't actually many changes to Warlocks in this patch. The only main one being, and it's not going to affect Warriors because they're changing Blood Horror, so pets don't activate Blood Horror. But other than that, I don't think Warlocks are too much of a threat this patch. Nothing has really changed, but for us, we've gotten some changes, so we should be a bit better against Warlocks this patch. Okay, so finally guys, we're on to the Warrior changes. Defensive stance has now been changed. Defensive stance now back to 5.1, which is defensive stance will now reduce damage taken by 25%, up from 15%. This is the change we've all been waiting for, guys. This is the reason Warriors were so good in 5.1. Shockwave was another reason, but Shockwave requires a little bit more skill to use now, but you can still get the 20 seconds on it if you do it right. Shield Wall has been reduced to a 3-minute CD, down from 5. This is a much needed change. Warriors were basically having to spend ages waiting on Shield Wall, and this is a nearly change, especially for RBGs, because when we switch to, we'll be able to Shield Wall more often, and duels especially when we switch to, we'll be able to actually do 3-minute duels instead of 5-minute duels, which is quite nice. We've also got the fact that in arena matches last quite long, so the more oftentimes you can use the Shield Wall, is the better. These two changes are overall really good change to Warrior survivability and much needed for this patch. Talent and Rage Regeneration now longer uses Rage. Instead, it instantly heals the Warrior for 5% of their health and an additional 5% over 5 seconds. Using this ability while enraged doubles the amount it heals, which increases it by 10% additional heal and 10% over 5 seconds. Now this is a good change, especially in arena. At the right moments can be used quite good. Now you have to remember is second wind is still going to be pretty decent, but I have to test this a bit, but I think second wind may still be better. Second wind no longer generates rage when the warrior is struck by a stun immobilizing effect. Instead, warriors gain a new talent where they gain a passive ability that enables them to generate rage when stunned by a immobilizing effect. This basically is the same thing that second wind does right now. Instead, it's going to do it for all 3 talents instead of the 1. Spell Reflect no longer consume spells from pets or guardians. Now guardians and pets quite often when you're fighting a mage or anything else like a warlock using a fellhound or something, anytime they use a spell, or a hunter using one of them serpents or something like that, anytime you use a spell it gets reflected straight away back. Now the good thing is, let's say a mage is going to cast Frostbomb on top of you. You reflect, the pet hits you, the pet reflects your reflect, and the mage puts Frostbomb on you and you're pretty much dead. Now if you do it this way, you should be able to put reflect, the pet will hit you, the reflect will still be there, the mage will have to ice lance, and this will give you an extra 1 or 2 seconds to get out of that deep and hopefully survive a lot better. This is, I feel, is also a good change to warriors, especially against mages. No change, but this is more of a PvE change. Vigilant now resets the cooldown on taunt in addition to its current effects. Okay, next up, arms talents. Sweeping strikes no longer cause resilience to do damage to a secondary target incorrectly when the original target damage has already been decreased by resilience. This basically means if you hit somebody for 100k after resilience, the next person's also going to get hit for the same amount of damage, which is pretty nice like that. So I actually quite like that change. This is also good when you're fighting people with pets and stuff, because pets are going to be doing quite a lot of damage. So when you're fighting in high DK, if you activate sweeping strikes, you should no longer have to take ages to kill the pet. You should be able to actually attack the pet and still do full damage on the DK as well, which is quite good. Okay, so next up, protection talents. Bashing the defense. Bashing the defense now reduces shield wall cooldown by 1 minute from a 3-minute reduction. Protection warriors. This results in no change to the shield wall cooldown, and the main reason being is the cooldown was 5 minutes and it reduced it by 3 minutes. So now since the cooldown is 3 minutes, it's reducing it by 1 minute, which means either way the shield wall cooldown for protection warriors is 2 minutes. Shield Slam now receives 50% bonus damage attack power from attack power, which means that basically what used to be 100% for warriors above level 85, so that means basically Shield Slam won't be hitting as strong as it was, which a lot of people were having problems fighting warriors as protection, which is this is going to discourage warriors actually doing damage or trying to duel as protection, because I guess Blizzard doesn't want us to be in a protection stance, well, in arenas or anything like that, which is actually a good change, I feel, because you should be arms in arena, and that's, I feel, is a good chance altogether. Wiring Sentinel now no longer reduces the damage reduction of defensive stance by 10%. This basically doesn't mean anything because defensive stance has been put to 25%, so this is like all warriors are going to have 25% now reduced on defensive stance, so it's not too much of a change, so don't worry too about that, guys. Okay, so next part of the video, my final thoughts on how we should proceed as warriors in 5.3. I feel personally, with all the changes to resilience and all the changes to defensive stance and everything combined, and the gems and etc, and resilience and PvP power, I feel the best way we should go is probably we should go focus mostly on strength and only strength. Strength is going to become a really good thing in 5.3 because of the fact that strength is going to be really strong. You're going to be able to stack with kings etc in RBGs or in arenas if you have a holy paladin, and I feel that you shouldn't totally negate PvP power, but you shouldn't just gem for resilience anymore, because basically I think you should focus mainly on strength like the way you would PvP power, and then take any gems with strength and PvP power etc, stuff like that. I haven't formulated an exact way to gem yet, but I will let you guys know as soon as I do. But I would say strength is definitely a good way to go. Another good way to go is also to use Mortal Strike Lift, especially in arenas, because of the fact that with battle fatigue being introduced, warriors are going to need more healing, which is Mortal Strike Lift is really good for that. So this should hopefully even it out a slight bit more for warriors in arenas, and I don't perceive any major changes to warriors other than the fact that we can definitely sit defensive stance better now. And since Slam has been changed in 5.2 and now of course 4.3, that basically means that we're going to be playing like we were in 5.1, except for now we have a 20 rage Slam instead of a 30 rage. This is actually going to be really strong. The only thing that has really changed from 5.1 to now is the fact that we're going to have 2 timer shockwaves on 3 targets if possible. This is actually not too bad of a change. Warriors, I feel this is the change they should have made for 5.2 in my opinion, but they didn't. They made it 5.3, but it's not a problem. Warriors are still good, we're still strong, everything's still going to be okay. Warriors are still going to be able to do what we do best in arenas, and we're going to kick ass. So just focus on what we do best: triple shockwaves, fears, stuns, damage, and keep throwing that target. The rotation should be pretty much the same as 5.2, but I'll let you guys know if that changes in 5.3. So anyways guys, I hope this guide was a little bit helpful for you. I hope you are ready a bit more for 5.3, and I hope that everything should reach you really good in 5.3. I will keep you guys up to date if I feel anything else needs said on 5.3. So guys, yeah, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please share with your friends. Maybe share a few videos on my channel. Anyways guys, this is Evylyn. I love you all. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one.